Good morning once again. On our previous lesson, we looked at the causes of the Soweto uprising. Now, for this lesson, we're going to look at the impacts of the philosophy of Black consciousness on student movement. Remember that as Black consciousness, as the idea spread throughout South Africa, and as everyone was knowledgeable about Black consciousness, then most of the students that were actually for the idea of Steve Biko joined in the organizations that he had formed. Now we want to look at the impact of the philosophy of Black consciousness on students. Now you will notice that the South African student movement was established for school students. Now it was inspired by Biko and the Black consciousness philosophy. So students were for the idea of Steve Biko. Thus they joined the South African student movement. Now, this one spread ideas of Black consciousness. How did they spread the ideas of Black consciousness? They spread the ideas of Black consciousness through meetings, through newspapers. Remember, back then in the day, they didn't have social media like we do, but they used meetings and newspapers. Newspapers could then have a bigger coverage, or more people could actually have access to the newspaper. That is how the idea of Black consciousness actually spread to the people. Now there was also growing support among students in Soweto. Now government banned newspapers. It imprisoned and banned the leaders. Now, the reason why the government banned the leaders and banned the newspaper, it is because people got the information about the Black consciousness through the newspapers and through the leaders of the Black consciousness. So the government had to actually ban the newspapers so that there is no communication with the people. It had to imprison the leaders and ban the leaders so that there is no continuation of the Black consciousness. Then you'll notice that in 1976, the South African student movement supported student boycotts. It formed Soweto Student Representative Council, which was the SSRC. Now, it planned mass demonstrations for June the 16th. Most of us are familiar with June the 16th. Now, June the 16th was the Soweto uprising, and this was a turning point to South African history. Why are we saying it was a turning point to South African history? Students were against the education policy which began on June 16, 1976. It became an uprising against the apartheid regime and oppression. Now, that was basically for the impact of the philosophy on students. Now, let us quickly look at